Okay, this is a swing arm ice skate sharpener. It's called a swing arm because there's an arm it swings. Got the disc sitting here, you clamp it in, you move this back and forth. Some of the units, like the Fleming Dray, you move this up and down to adjust the Z height correct. This is an SSM2 out of Sweden. You have a little roller it sits on here. And so the skate blade actually sits on this roller and you adjust the Z height by this control. And the base model just has a little adjustment from 1 to 5. You just run around, and the more advanced one actually has the thickness of the blade. And so you just dial that in. And so I'm going to cut all the same brand skates so I don't have to worry about, once I've done one in, they're all going to be on the money. So if you got to do a whole bunch of skates at once and they're all the same thickness, you can just set this up and boom, you can go. Now the radius of curvature on a machine like this is from this surface back to this edge, and that's from this pivot point to the diamond. And the machine comes with a ruler here, and if I move the profiler out of the way and I go from the back edge of that to this, that's set to 16 millimeters, which is 5/8 of an inch. And I purposely like 5/8 of an inch for these little rec skates. So I'm going to kick this on, go back and forth. Normally I'm going to have the blower on here. I just want to keep this quiet so the audio is a little bit better. And anytime you got a machine like this, you don't want to go through and turn this and ruin the diamond. Doesn't matter what brand. You want to make sure if somebody's messed with it, you don't want to just turn it up and bust the diamond off. So that's something to be looking for. If I put the skate in here, the clamp, make sure it's not fouled on anything. So only the boot, the blade is touching the holder, and the boot is not biasing this back and forth. And I'm going to hit the blower over here. I'm not going to dwell on any portion of the skate. These skates are from another rink, and they were donated, so they have kind of a checkered past in the sense they've seen a lot of use. They've been turned down, which they really shouldn't have been, but that just happens sometimes in a tabletop machine. If somebody gets too aggressive. And this is on the money here. So once I've got off to where it's got the bulk of this out, so it's a good edge, I'm going to put this aside and grab another one. So here's its mate over here. Make sure the laces and everything don't get in the way. Put it in the holder. Again, you got to make sure you don't touch anything. So the skate is not being biased up this way or this way. Kick on the machine. Not hitting the toe bit. My objective here is just to get these sharp enough for some little kids that use these. I'm not trying to be, these are not Olympic quality in the sense that these actually have been walked on with concrete. So I can go look around here and see there's an area here that's still kind of damaged. And that is good enough for what I want to do with these. It's got it square. So I'm going to put this in my pile of being deburred. Got another pair here. Now this one's a 3. So when you put it in, you got to be aware that normally I do them all the same size. I'm just trying to illustrate. If you got a different one, You stick it in, you just got to be aware this is not, it's actually being clamped correctly. But it doesn't matter what type of sharpener you've got. If it's not held in correctly, you lost your reference surfaces. These have been abused a bunch. There's an area right in here that is just problematical. These are just regular high carbon steel. I've got that a good sharp edge on there. I can double check this if I want to. These are all going to be on the money. So that one goes to a deburr area. Here's it's made over here. These are Jackson soft stick. Put in the holder. Now the difference between the left and the right, you got to be careful because the way the boot is, it's going to be to where it may want to touch in a different place. So when you put it in, you go right to left, left to right, whatever you want to do. Just got to make sure you're not touching anything on the holder except the blade. There's a little bit of a bad start there. These have been turned down on the back end, and that is a typical error on a figure skate. All these I'm going to run a stone on there. There's an area right here that's still dull as can be. And that's what happens on rental skates. I'm stopping before the toe pit. It's still horrible in the sense it's got the walking on concrete or something like that is really bad. And that's what's happened with these. And that looks like good enough for what I want to use these for. So all these, I'm going to deburr all these at once. This is a 2. Again, I don't have this following anything on the holder. I got a foot switch. That's running on the roller there. Got a long way to go. Let me clean the stone up here. Let me hit the foot switch. This is hooked to a shop vac here. Probably should be using them 1/2 inch ridges to hollow. Yeah, it's got an area right there that's just torn to shreds. Huh. Horrible. skate is actually floating on that roller. Okay, I've got that to where it's actually got an edge on it. So I'm going to knock the burr off later. You see, these are regular carbon steel, so over the season they've rusted right through here. A lot of figure skates are just high carbon steel. See, one pass there, still haven't gotten the rust off. That has actually gotten to where I can knock the burr off and I'm good to go for a rental. One little area there, let me do one more pass. And again, this radius from here should be the same. This has been turned down, and that's easy to do on a machine where you sit there and dwell, and that's a common problem you see with a sharpener where somebody sits there and grinds too much on this. Okay, this is the 6th skate. This is the 3rd pair, 6th skate. It's got some real bad areas through here where it's dull as can be. Put it in the holder. And usually these little guys on here, I can get a feel in here, like a blind man, just make sure it's not touching anything. What I'm actually trying to do is actually start up here and not to the very back, because it's already been ground down by somebody else who goofed them up. And then from here, these toe picks have probably been ground down by the other rink. It's more of a safety measure. From this toe pick to where a flat surface touch is called the non-skatable zone. And this is where you spin on. And normally you have maybe one radius through here, and this should be one radius maybe 8 or 9 feet. So this arrow where this is turned down, that's a gross error right through there. That's a screw up somebody's done. Very common, very, very common. Do one more pass. All these I haven't taken the burrs off. So I've got to where there's a defined edge. If I knock the burr off, we're good to go. So that was 3 pairs, 6 skates. This is the 7th skate, 4th pair. Doesn't really sound as good. Dress the stone. How much you dress the stone is really dependent on, if you got a skate with the Z heights wrong, you're going to have to clean it up before you even reusing it. If the edge that touches this one edge is way higher than this one. You've got to burn up a bunch of the metal and the stone just to get it to be back to where it should be. So how many passes you have to do is a real subjective thing, in the sense that if you don't know the skate coming in, you've got some, you may burn up a lot more wheel, have to do more passes than you normally do. So I'm trying to start about 3/8 of an inch from the tail, because these have been turned down. I'm trying to stop about 1/2 inch before the toe. And with the lights on here, I can kind of see where there's a gross error on there. This area right here needs another pass. These will get torn up probably in about 5 or 6 seconds. If they keep these on the mat, they're going to last a long time. But if they go through and walk on the concrete, which they do sometimes here, they get screwed up. And then here's a rusted area here. Sometimes you get a rusted area on an old pair that's really deep, where the rust actually goes through down into the core of the skate. And that's down in here. You can actually see where it's still got some rusted, like little putt holes in it, little pock holes. That's where it's sat all season long. And once I knock the burr off, that's a decent edge. It's good enough to skate on. Again, I'm trying to start over here because in order to fix this, you're going to have to grind the entire skate down, which is just murder. You're going to have to go ahead and take a whole bunch off, and you're probably going to screw up the profile. So again, this should not be turned down like this. That's 4 pairs. That's 8 skates. This has got rust on it here. Really, the rust is not the issue. It's trying to get a back to have a skatable edge on it. Again, if you get a different brand of skate or a different model, you want to do a sanity check. These are right on the money. You got a tabletop machine that has a holder that can do this. You want to go ahead and check squareness of both ends besides the middle. So the skate can be like this, and it can be this way at one end and this way at another end. This is I think this is the 5th pair. I'll lose count. You can really burn out a lot of skates with Swingarm. And that's got right there to where the last machine this was on, it may not have been aligned the same, so it's grinding on one side and not another. Let me go ahead and trim the wheel a little bit. Right over here. Almost needs another 2 passes or so to clean up that edge. So somebody else has sharpened these in another machine that's not adjusted right. You've got to go ahead and do a lot more passes just to get to where you're even doing some cutting. This is a precision square by Starrett, a 14D. Still. May have been the worst one. There you go. This is probably the worst one I've had here. Actually gets kind of warm when you do that. This is the 6th pair. This machine, you don't have to really worry about the laces compared to other machines. I like to see if there's some really gross nicks. If it's just a small area, it's not, you're never going to really notice on a rental skate, or it's just a not competitive skate because there's gentle curve. You got so much in contact with ice. If you got a fairly big nick, you got to do some judgments if you want to burn the blade up just to try to rectify it, or leave it there. And then this one here has got the same . Doesn't sound as good. But that finally cleaned up the whole path. When you're putting your hand on this and doing it, you can get a burr, sliver in your fingers, so you just don't want to pull it across. It depends how rough your hands are, or you just don't want to just do that. Sometimes you can get a real nasty one in your hands. So again, this has got to be to where it's not binding on anything. I think some of these may have been dressed by another machine, by somebody else, and so they didn't have the Z height just right. Okay, that's all cleaned up, good enough. Put that in the pile to be dressed. This is the last pair I'm going to do. Got this one here's got some, of course, some gross rust. The swing arm machine, you can actually leave the laces just hanging down. Kind of cool. Dress the wheel a little bit. This knob over here, I'm moving this closer because the disc is wearing down some. That spark pattern is due to high carbon steel. These are soft-tech recreational skates. And a little bit right there. It's a little bit more cleaned up. This is the part I'm talking about here, that this exaggerated has been turned this way. That shouldn't have been done. Whoever did, where we got these are like this. And so I'm trying to start right here and finish back over here and not touch this area. So if I took a Sharpie and did all this, I'm trying to not take all the Sharpie off purposely. Some of these, actually the tail on this is actually to where it's tilted over. I think the last one I did kiss that down a little bit, but most of the passes I didn't touch that in the back. This is the last skate I'm going to do here in this video. I think this was 7 or 8. I'll have to do a final count. Again, you want to make sure you don't have this hitting the holder. It doesn't matter what machine you use. You want to make sure this is only clamped on the skate. So it's not like this, that's a gross screw up, or it's like this. And it's real easy to do if you get an unknown skate you're not familiar with, or one that's really big with way different size. Now, how good is good on a rental skate is kind of like you're going to cut your yard and then it's going to grow back in a week. If you try to get it perfect, it's going to be to where it gets torn up pretty quick. And so you want these to be usable so somebody can skate on them and it's safe. But if you make it perfect, it's just going to get goofed up the first session sometimes. So they just got to, you know, be decent. Any skate that's a communal skate, unfortunately, that's what happens. In fact, a used skate can be like that. Anything you buy used, you got to be buyer beware. It can be to where it's kind of torn up. Now, these skates here, each one's got a number on it. So if this pair 77 always was the same user used them or whatever, if the left is torn up, generally the right will be torn up. If it's a set of skates where this size, number 13 youth, whatever, 13 junior, is with another one every time it's mixed together, you can get one that's all screwed up in the sense the left can be perfect, the right can be bad. So in skates that are kept together because it's one owner, or in a rental situation, they tend to be put back and given out the same left and right as a pair. If the left is goofed up, then the right could be goofed up. Or if somebody screwed them up sharpening, they're both going to be goofed up. So it's a little bit easier in a set of skates that are to where the left and right are married together and has spent their life together. Whereas if you get one that's just in a rental situation where they just throw them back and they mix them all up, you don't know what you're getting. It can be bad to where you got a perfect skate on the left side and one you can't even skate on the right. So we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pairs of skates from 13 youth to size 3 little kids or juniors, whatever. The swing arm on here, you move back and forth, of course. Some models, some brands, you move this up and down. And this is SSM2. This particular unit here has a profiler that you can put on here. And you can move this back and forth. And then this has a gizmo here that you put a template on. And you move this back and forth. And so this is an added accessory that's on this unit. You can pull this off and put the stock unit that has the standard dome without this. This is a roller fowler for that goes on here. This actually goes on a rod. And so there's a whole extra set of stuff on here. Now what comes off a machine, a conventional machine that has a grind wheel, the stuff that comes off has been sucked into a vacuum. But it's not perfect, so if you have a dedicated station, you may want to, you're still getting some grindstone stuff around here. This is about half grindstone, half what's left of the skate. So if you put this in a bag, like a Ziploc bag, and take a magnet to it, you're going to separate the steel from the grindstone. So it's about half and half. So this unit here picks up a decent amount. And then you can see on here you got like a clinker. What that is, it tends to get stuck together because it's actually coming out with sparks on, and it tends to congeal and kind of stick together because it's a little bit almost molten, it's coming off as sparks like that. But the swing arm virtue is you can sit there and just burn out skates one after another. And so the quickest way to do this, the swing arm, is put all the ones together, the twos together, the threes together, one brand. Just click them in and you can go back and forth, and do this. You can burn out a huge number of skates real quick. Quicker than a tabletop machine, in the sense that you have to do a clamp, because you just put this on like this, back and forth, and so this is a little bit in the way for the profiler. So if I was going to use this a lot, I'd take this off. It just unbolts. I think it's got 6mm screws. I've left it on because I use the profiler every now and then. It kind of gets a little bit in the way here if you got a blade coming in here to try to. It's close to this, but not. It's close when the wheels get smaller on this. But you can burn out a huge number of skates with a swing arm machine. And that's SSM2, made in Sweden.